Hey everyone, it's Grant here. Welcome back to the channel, and today's video is all about Etsy. In particular, the Etsy ad changes that they announced on their blog and through sellers, emails to sellers on the 26th of February, so only a couple of days ago now. Good, bad, indifferent, I'll walk you through those changes, but before I start, and as always, please do subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, smash that like button, and comments down below. I try to reply to as many as I can. But that's enough waffling from me. Let's get straight on with this video. So there are two major changes that Etsy announced. One of those is the changes to the management of Etsy ads. So a while back now, probably last year at some point, there was a huge furore. People were putting petitions on change.org, which had about 300 signatures. There were lots of forum posts, anger around Etsy because they combined Etsy ads and Google Shopping ads. Now, prior to that, what you could do is you could advertise on Etsy, within the Etsy community, within the Etsy site, or you could choose whether to extend your advertising to include Google Shopping. Now, they combined that, and it was met with a huge amount of disagreement in the Etsy seller community. Why is that? That's because there is a lack of control around what you're spending, and everyone knows, and this is my personal experience, and I'm sure it's the same experience for you guys as well, that the cost of Google advertising is much higher than Etsy, and therefore your overall acquisition cost, your cost per sale, is therefore increased, which then makes it more difficult to manufacture your products, especially if they're handmade, and it also reduces your bottom line. And I know, and I appreciate, and I sympathise with those Etsy sellers that are on very slim margins. And as I said, my experience is when it was just purely Etsy ads, my cost per acquisition, my cost per sale was much lower. So they've now changed that. Etsy ads will go back to being just that, Etsy ads. So if you put an advertising budget on of $2 or £2, it will literally go on the Etsy site and nowhere else. So that is great news, and I'm sure that will be welcomed by the majority of Etsy sellers. Now, the second and probably most important change is off-site ads. And as the name suggests, off-site ads is out of Etsy and the Etsy community. And that includes Google, Pinterest, Bing, and Instagram. There is no monthly budgeting. There is no way to turn it on and off in terms of saying, well, I've spent £2. It's an opt-in and an opt-out for the smaller sellers, and they will take 15% off your sale. So, to confirm, it will push your adverts out on off-site ads to 4 social media and search platforms, no upfront cost, for just 15% of your sale. I say just, but it's 15% of your sale on a 30-day cookie. Now, what's a cookie? So a cookie is a piece of data that sits on your computer, which says what you visited and what you've looked at, and then it references that back should it need to. So if someone goes to your ad today and then in 29 days revisits your ad from a different source, it will still attribute that advertising, that sale, back to Etsy. Clearly, they want to make as much money as they can and get, as much commission as they can for that sale. So that's really, for me, I found that really, really good news. I do like the advertising platform, and for most people, it's a great way of getting more sales. And all you have to do is bear in mind that when you're looking at your costings, you need to just include or allow for 15% of your costs for advertising. And it's a great way to get your name out, your brand out, and your products in front of literally millions upon millions upon millions of people. And let's be honest, a lot of us on Etsy don't have the experience to run Facebook ads, things on Pinterest, or they don't just actually have the time to do so. I mean, personally, I do. I'm thankful for that. But I'm in a community and I'm in a small group of Etsy sellers where they just don't understand. I've got one person in particular who set up a Facebook ad, spent about £300, it's about $400, completely wasted, got about 2 sales from it because they just don't know how to work that system. And this is almost self-managing from that point of view. So it's really, really helpful. The only part to add to this is that what sort of sales you're doing. So at the moment, if you're doing under $10,000 in yearly income or revenue, which is about £7,800, then your participation, they're called participation, odd way to phrase it, is optional. So if you're doing under $10,000, £7,800, you can opt in or opt out. And from what we understand, that'll be on a click basis. So today, I'm going to farm out my products to those 4 social media and search platforms. Tomorrow, I'm not going to. And I'm sure there'll be some analytical data behind that, much like we have on Etsy ads now. However, if you are fortunate enough to have an Etsy store that's doing revenue of $10,000 or more, and I think that's from the, let me just check that data, that's from, they're going to look at the 19th of February 2020 for the previous 12 months. So if you've done 10,000 from the 19th of Feb this year to the 19th of Feb 19, your participation, again, a quote unquote, weird way to use it, is mandatory. You have to participate in this. And I guess for Etsy, that's to cover their costs. As I've said to you, the cost, there's no upfront cost. And clearly they've got to, the reward versus benefit, they're still going to have to pay for ads that might not relate in a sale. And they'll still have to pay Facebook and Pinterest and Bing for that. So this is how they're countering that. So 15% is actually going to be slightly reduced for those of you that are essentially forced into doing this. $10,000 or more, you will have to participate in the offsite ads, but you will get a reduction down to 12%. So you will get a small 3% reduction. But overall, what that means is, for me, I think there's a few takeaways here. Number one, we are going to gain more control back over Etsy ads, which is great news. Number two, we're going to get, I don't know the numbers, but 4 times, let's call it, more opportunity. Because at the moment we're only farming up to Google. You'll now get Google, Bing, Pinterest and Instagram. And I don't know those numbers, and I'll probably do another video around what those numbers mean in terms of the audiences. But it's a bigger reach and a bigger growth sector, which is also great news. Number 3, if you're earning under, or if you're taking less than $10,000, then you're not forced. The participation isn't mandatory. So again, you have more choice around that. And I guess the major part now is to start looking at your product. And as I've said at the top of the video, I know lots of Etsy sellers are on small margins. And for me, what I would be doing now, between now and when this rolls out, is looking at my costings, getting down to the Excel spreadsheet, working out my costings, and see if I've got a 15% tolerance in my product between the product costs of goods, Etsy fees, packaging fees, postage fees, and advertising fees, now 15%. And I would include and make sure that's inclusive of all my workings out. And if it's not, then it's time to look at that and maybe introduce some different pricing strategy. I'm almost certain, 99.9%, that you will see your competition over the next month change their pricing structures. It will go up and down while they test different metrics. And this is a good opportunity for the next 4, 5, 6 weeks. So look at your pricing, research it, and make the necessary amendments. And I would, as always, I would love to hear your comments down below on what you're going to do over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks and your feelings on these overall changes to Etsy. Thank you very much for watching. As always, please subscribe, bell notification icon, smash that like button and comments down below, and hopefully I'll see you again for the next video.